It is not like 2008. 2008 was a government-driven subprime lending cocaine high that destroyed the entire financial market.
Welcome, everyone, to the 121% podcast. Kevin Johnson here, your host. And today we are truly honored to welcome a legend in our industry, the one, the only, David Knox. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here. I think I was in that office some time ago doing a live presentation to your group. It's fun to see you guys again on this.
Yeah, we'll have to get you to come down and do another one soon. I see you're up in Minnesota today, huh?
I am up in Minnesota, and now is the time everybody wants to be here. Beautiful summer, nice cool day, clear skies. It's great. We didn't get summer till about now.
For those that are watching or listening that don't know you or haven't had the honor to meet you, I'm not sure where they've been hiding, but a little bit about your background.
I started in real estate in 1972, so I'm coming up on 50 years in this business. So I've seen all the peaks and valleys, up and down and back and forth and up and down. And so when all of a sudden the market shifts, I go, oh, I remember. I'll bring that set of techniques out again because we're going to need those again. But I started as an agent, and I got involved as a manager, which I did not like. Got involved in training for a company that it's been a number of things, but it ended up being a Coldwell Banker now. But I left them when they sold to Merrill Lynch Realty in the late 80s, and I went out to Connecticut, national training director, race cars out there with Paul Newman, travel around the world. And then 87, I came back and started David Knox Seminars. And then we changed the name to David Knox Productions when we started doing all the video production and doing training videos and audios and things like that. But I've done 3,500 live seminars in all 50 states, 8 provinces, 12 countries, and look forward to getting back on the road again.
I watched one of your live videos you did about a week ago, and you just offered some really good perspective as markets continue to shift, as they always do. There's no static market. Yep. It's all about the mindset and how you look at the facts in the marketplace. Two different people can look at the same set of facts right now, and one can come with it's rainbows and skittles, and the other one can say it's doom and it's gloom. I loved your perspective, so I thought we could just dive into a little bit about the market shift and what your thoughts are and why it's not really a bad thing for real estate. We're actually, it's a good, healthy, transitional time that we kind of a cleanse that we sometimes need.
Yep. I've seen a bunch of these markets. We go up and down. And when you talk about the people who have the different views of it, it pretty much falls down to whether you tend to be more of a buyer agent or a seller agent. I think it starts there because every market favors one or the other. It's buyers and it's sellers and buyers. It's gone back and forth and back and forth. And if you're locked in, well, in the last 2 years, if you were a buyer agent, you were like bringing sand to a beach. I mean, really buyer's agents. In fact, the irony of it is if you were a buyer agent last couple of years, even up through today, in order to be valuable to your buyers, you have to be a listing agent. Because if you're not bringing them listings, what good are you as a buyer agent? If I'm trying to buy a car, the guy says, well, we don't have any cars in our dealership. We're waiting for them to come in. Waiting? Aren't you going to go out and find one? Dealer trade, check around, go find one for me. And I think if you're my realtor and you're my buyer agent, you say, well, waiting for something to come on that multi-list. Seriously, really? No, go find one, knock on doors, call on expires, call on for sale banners, do something. But go find me a home. You know what I want? You know how much I'm going to spend? Get to work. Because if the agents don't do it, the buyers will. And I've told the story about a guy coming to my home in Rancho Mirage, California, up on his golf cart, and walked up and said, hey, my wife and I are looking for property along here. Do you happen to be interested in selling? And I said, no, but I'm going to use this story in my next meeting with realtors. You got to get off your golf cart and go knock on doors. And then he asked the second question, do you know anybody along here who might move? And I said, there's a home down there that she's renting. And typically when they rent, next step is they're going to sell. And sure enough, it did go in the market and it did sell. So realtors have to be as motivated as their buyers. And that means get listings. Then, when the market goes the other way around, where there's 9,000 listings and 4 buyers, clearly now it's time to go work with buyers. But do you want me to just take you through some of my slides and thoughts on this?
Sure.
Take you through my PowerPoint that I put some slides together for you. And obviously, the market has been going up and up for quite some time now. In fact, actually, I think, what did I see? I don't know, we've had like 10 years in a row of rising values. And all of a sudden at the top of this, we're just starting to see a little bit of leveling off. And every market's going to be different. And but you got to pay attention to it. When all of a sudden the home stays on the market for 7 hours instead of 2 hours, you go, what's going on here? And more homes come on, they stay on longer, there's fewer offers, and I'm hearing that all over the place. I had lunch with a guy that I kind of sold real estate with years ago, and he said, yep, all of a sudden he's feeling the change. And the most important thing to know is that the market is working. This is a natural market adjustment. As you said, Kevin, markets go up and down and back and forth, left and right. The law of supply and demand works. You can vote against the law all you want, but the law will win. This is a natural adjustment as supply and demand changes. Part of the demand is interest rate driven. It is not like 2008. 2008 was a government driven subprime lending cocaine high that destroyed the entire financial market. Everybody blames Wall Street. Wall Street came in way late to the game. They were packaging up the bad mortgages that were not only allowed, but forced to be written by Fannie and Freddie, and they wrecked it. And I could go on a rant on that forever. But now we have reasonable lending requirements, which we should have kept all along, and then we wouldn't have had 2008. We have almost zero negative equity, and right last I heard, we've got 3% default rate, when over the years, it's been 5%, so it's actually even lower. So we don't have a crazy market. Next is we take a look at interest rates rising from 3 up to 6. People go, oh my gosh, the interest rates doubled. Well, for those of us who have been in the business for a while, you can look back 8, 9, 10 years and it was 6% going down to 3. Once again, it was a government driven low rate. So the government keeps getting in the way. They just keep doing it and they wreck everything. So some people are happy. Yay, we get low interest rates. Yeah, but you create inflation. You've got multiple offers. The prices of homes go up. So I don't know. I'm tired of government getting in the way, but not much we can do about it. And what happened when the rates came down, the values went up. So now what's going to happen? The rates go up, the values are going to come down. It works. It's countercyclical every single time. So the good news there is that as the rates go up a little bit, and maybe a lot of it, if you go from 3 to 6, yes, it's going to hurt some people. It's going to take some people out of the market, but sellers will be forced to reduce their prices in order to compensate for that. And every market's a little bit different, but you need to pay attention to that. So the good news is sellers are reducing the prices. It may partially offset the interest rates. And now you might be able to help your buyers. It's a more manageable market. And I think there's a lot of agents welcome that. And the next most important thing is, and this has happened so many times, and I keep reminding agents of this, right now, if you take a look at the transactions per versus agents, you can take a look in, your Orlando market. How many transactions, how many agents, and figure out the ratio. World, US wide, maybe 6 million transactions, 1 million agents, so 6 to 1. Of course, half the agents can't find their office by GPS, so maybe it's 12 to 1. Well, will the interest rate reduce the number of transactions? I suppose. Maybe it goes from 6, maybe it goes down to 5. Well, what happens to the number of agents in the business? That goes down by a greater percentage than does the reduction in agents, in transactions. And part of that reason is that agents were kind of hanging on by a thread anyway, and the smallest amount of challenge is sometimes just enough to take them out of the market because they weren't really doing well anyway. And they finally decide, well, maybe I better get out of real estate and get into another job. So the relationship between transactions and productive agents goes up. There's actually more business out there than before. And that goes back to your point of some agents do better when a market is, quote, bad. And bad is really, I wouldn't use that word. It's just more of a balanced market. And the challenges are a bit different. But now's the time the good agents make more money.
Looking back and with your expertise nationally, and obviously there will be some pockets here and there, but do you think we're going to see national depreciation in home values, or do you think we'll just see the growth come back down to maybe flat or 1 or 2% nationally?
I hate to predict because everybody who does that, they don't know what they're doing, and I don't either. So I will just, this is pure opinion. There's no fact based in this at all. My opinion would be that the elasticity of of prices with people who paid a lot for the home is so firm they just don't want to come down. So they're going to kind of hold firm, and especially if it's an elective sale, they may just go forget about it. We're not going to sell. And so I think it may flat. I think the rate of appreciation is going to slow down. That I think we've already seen called deceleration, not depreciation. And if it does start going down, my answer to that is we can't control it anyway. Goes up, we have zero control over that. So my answer is pay attention. And if it does go into depreciation, then it does. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it?
Even if you have some depreciation, which I think, there will be pockets of them, again, just opinion based, and I have a lot less experience than you do. For me, we've gained 200K, 300K almost in equity since 2013. So even if I have some depreciation, I'm still ahead of the game in a normal market during that time period.
Really good point. Yeah. So even if they do have to sell, and by the way, one of the questions I ask is, when is the best time to buy a home? And the answer is when you need one.
Right.
So when you need a home, you're going to buy one. And that means you got to sell the one you're in. And do you really care about the market? You might care, but there's nothing you can do about it. When your car breaks down, you need a new car, and so you get a new one. But here is and I've been teaching this, every 6 years I bring this chart out and I'll share it again because it's an absolute mathematical fact. Let me get to the chart I want. And where do we go here? Okay, this chart, you can put your own numbers to it in your market. But you're on a listing tonight where maybe it did depreciate. So Kevin, in answer to your question, let's take a look at, market came down 10% from 600 grand to 540. The owners are upset and they go, I want my neighbor got, I want the 600 that he got. Well, you're going to have to sell when he did, and that was a year ago. But had you sold at 600, what were you going to do? And the answer is, we're going to buy another home. And NAR says 50% more. So it's a safe number to use is to go from 600 to 900. But please, everybody needs to do their own market research. So the bad news is their home came from 600 down to 540. They lost $60,000. But the good news is the home they were going to buy came down $90,000. So instead of being 300 grand away from making the move, they're 270 away. They're actually $30,000 closer to affording the home now than they were at the peak of the market. And this is a mathematical scenario that you need to prove in your own market. But to summarize what I had said before, when is the best time to buy a home? When you need one. How do you know when you have a buyer? They buy. How do you know when you have a seller? They sell. So it's the motivation, not the money. And we have a brand new video that's not even uploaded yet, but it will be 2 or 3 days from now. Live Seminar 01 on our Getting Listings Priced Right. It's a 10-part series on pricing just in time for the market change. And LSO1, Chapter 1 is about motivation, not the money. And you still need to keep getting listings no matter what the market does. And that is one of the downsides of changing markets. They go, well, maybe I don't need listings anymore. You always need listings. And if you are going to work with buyers who want to buy now, and buy now from you.
It's like you can't run a shoe store without shoes. You can't be a real estate agent without houses. And I tell the agents all the time, especially during the downturn in the market, without this, or not downturn, but during the height of the market, I should say, when we were seeing a reduction in offers of cooperation from both builders and other agents, all the complaining. And I'm like, shut up. Like, if you're not happy with the offer of compensation, the simple answer is the easiest solution ever. Go list houses, and then you can determine that compensation.
Right.
But if you're not going to try, you don't have the right to complain. So get out there and list properties.
Yep. So that might be a challenge for some agents if they're used to working with buyers. Becoming a listing agent is important to do. And the training to which you subscribe, we've got a whole action plan on listings, on changing the mindset and becoming a listing agent and learning those skills. I race cars, and the worst track days for me are rainy days. I hate driving in the rain. I actually don't do it anymore because I make that choice. But during racing days when it rained, in a way I looked forward to it because I knew how to drive in the rain. I'm in Minnesota where you're always sliding the car around on snow and ice and things like that. So I knew how to be smooth on the rain, and I did best in my rain. And a lot of professional drivers do the same thing. They pray for rain because they're good at it. Lewis Hamilton's a rain guy, Schumacher, a bunch of these guys, they were really good in the rain. So you need to be good in the rain, and in and it depends on what the rain is. Sometimes it's needing listings, sometimes it needs buyers. But the bottom line is, if you're a good agent, you'll do well in any market, period.
If you had to give an agent who has been a strong buyer's agent in the previous years, needs to make that pivot, you had to offer them 1, 2, 3 quick tips of mindset changes or changes in behavior to make that pivot and to help them shift with the market, what would that be?
First thing I do is write some affirmation. I am pleased and proud to be a strong listing agent, and visualize that and imagine yourself in front of homes getting listings, seeing your for sale sign in the front yard, seeing people come to you, visualizing what it's like to be a listing agent, and kind of get that in your brain, what it's like. And as challenges come into your brain, you go, oh, this scares me, this scares me. Make a note of those, because that's your brain saying, I've got to get good at this. Second thing I would do is I would pair up with a good listing agent in the company and say, look, and if you really want to do this right, look, I'll give you $1,000 if you let me follow you and shadow you on 1 or 2 or 3 listing presentations. I'll sit quietly. You can introduce me as your assistant, and I'll just sit quietly and I'll take notes. And of course, the notes you're taking is, what did he or she do in the listing, and watch what other people do. That would be the second thing. Obviously, training, if the agents are with you, they can watch our training videos and watch real agents on real listing presentations. Venus Morris Griffin, incredible agent. The Kaylor Bortnick team, you get to see them. We went on location and video recorded them on real listings. And you watch and you go, oh, it doesn't look as formal as I thought. They're just kind of relaxed and chatting with people, but they're asking pointed questions, they're presenting, and you go, oh, I could do this. And then I think the biggest challenge for a listing agent is probably dealing with pricing and commission would be the two. And I think commission is far more difficult. Pricing, you can blame the market and say, here's what the market's doing. And worst case scenario, you could take it a little bit higher for a week or so. But for commission, you need to be really good at that and practice your scripts. And we got tons of videos on that. And then my standard answer for any agent getting good at anything, anytime, is to role play. And you can hear a collective, oh, I don't like role playing. To which I say, I don't care. You can't not role play. The only choice is, on whom will you practice? Do you want to practice on somebody in your office and suffer the embarrassment and the stress and the anxiety? Or do you want to practice on a real human being and cost yourself 10 grand and your industry reputation? So role playing, there is no better way to learn a skill. Practice, drill, rehearse, role play, record it, play it back. And people say, well, that's so unrealistic. That's the point. If you can do a role play on video with another agent who plays a good role, that's so difficult that real people they're easy.
Yeah, we offer our agents, we have a weekly in-person listing presentation role play, and then we have 3 Zoom-based telephone scripts role play. So that way we turn the cameras off during that exchange, and we turn it back on to debrief, but that it's group, and I don't want them relying on visual cues for a phone call role play. So that we get them doing that. We're recording it so we can share it with them, and it's been helpful. I get the same the same side that you get, and I tell them, if whatever sport you like, if you like football or baseball, do you think the first time the team takes the field is the first time they've run the plays? I'm a huge football fan, right? No, they've practiced and practiced. They know their plays. They can do them in their sleep, and they practice against their own defense, which are the objections. So that way they can practice all these incoming objections. It's the same thing we do. We earn a lot of money, or we can invest in the time to make sure you're doing a service to yourself and to your brokerage and your fellow agents. Because if you're going out there embarrassing yourself, you're also embarrassing the brokerage. But that we can go out there and do a good job for that seller and deliver that extraordinary experience.
Yeah, video role play, there is no better a feedback that's objective than when you watch yourself on video. And the first time you do it, you're going to get sick and go, oh, I suck. Oh, look, oh my gosh. Well, do you not want to know that? Seriously? If you really are that bad, do you not want to know about it? And number 2, do you want to continue being that bad in front of real people? No. Role play and record it. And and to your point, every industry and profession I know practices and role plays, and real estate is unique in the one we don't want to do it.
I don't think anyone really truly ever wants to do it, but you have to. It's part of the job, right? It is uncomfortable sometimes, but it's
It is.
okay. When
Yeah,
you're uncomfortable, you're learning.
that's right.
If you're comfortable, you're not expanding, you're not growing. So
Yep.
it's so important. I always use the football analogy. Even when they're doing their practices, they're filming the practice and then they're watching
Yep.
the tapes after to see what
Yep.
they did. See, you did this, you should have done that. And we do the same thing. We debrief after. So, what
Yep.
we always do the positivity sandwich. Let's share something they did great, something they could work on, and end with something they did great. And it works.
Yep.
And we try to make it fun and competitive. We have an objection throwdown. So just plot objection, and you never know what it's going to be. And try to make it more fun and engaging than just a boring one. But it's so important,
Yep.
especially in this market.
Yeah, we have some videos called I Practice, small I, capital P, takeoff on the iPhone in our training. You can watch that. We did some with a group, and you can watch how they do it. And there's some on the leadership side of it that shows how to run it and how to give feedback. And the way to give feedback in a role play at the end of it, step number one is I turn to the person playing the agent and I say, how did you feel about your performance? And I want to hear one good thing first, and then go ahead and say what you didn't like, because they usually, oh, I'm horrible. Oh, what did you like? Well, I was engaging. I liked my voice. I had good eye contact. Great. What would you change? Well, I interrupted her here. I did that. Okay, I agree. And then sometimes you turn to the person playing the seller. How'd you feel? Well, I really didn't like when she interrupted me. It was really kind of annoying because I was trying to talk. And so, well, how you feel about that? Well, that's how people feel when you interrupt. Oh, yeah, I see that I did that. Okay, now you've learned something really important. And then the other people at the table can give feedback, and then you move on to the next one. And after 2 or 3 of these role plays, all of a sudden you look at yourself and go, wow, I'm actually pretty good. And it feels good.
It just takes time. And the other thing I tell agents is get out there and actually do it. You're going to make mistakes. If you wait till you're absolutely perfect, you're going to be waiting and preparing forever.
Yeah, you won't do anything. Yeah.
I made some pretty incredible mistakes in my time, You learn from them. As long as you learn from them, you're good.
Yep.
So that's some good advice. I mean, the market's shifting. It's going to be, I think, a healthy thing for us. Like you said, I loved your analogy of, yes, some agent will have some agent reduction. And I think that's good. That's,
Oh, yeah.
Just some of the transactions we've interacted with, it's just like, you get frustrated. So I think it's going to be a huge help. I think more people need to subscribe to your training because you've got some great videos. My favorite one is the buyer objection video, I think, where you do the cold open with the airplane. Yeah, that's fine. It might rain again. Sure, maybe. I mean, so your videos, your training is engaging. It's fun. It's not your typical boring, video. They're fun and it's useful and it's relevant. You bring in, great people to be guests with your show.
Oh, by the way, sorry to interrupt, but I've been trying to remember what I was going to say to you. There's a video that will help people become a listing agent called KFT 84, Knox First Tuesday number 84, Listen to the Needs of Your Seller. And it makes the most important point I will ever make to a listing agent, because they're so concerned of what do I say? And my answer to that is don't say anything. Shut up. Shut up. And I know I'm being really harsh on that, but somehow you got to do that to get their attention. You walk in, Mr. Seller, thank you so much for inviting me to home, show up on time, dress well, do all that. And then say, I'd love to sit down. Thank you so much. I'd love to get to know you folks. And if you don't mind, why don't we sit right here? Yes, I'd love a cup of coffee. Cream, please. That would be great. Well, obviously something in your life has changed, and I'd love to hear about it. So if you don't mind, I'd like to take some notes and tell me what's going on. And then they can use our checklist, 3-page checklist on pre-listing and listing questions that I've worked years and years on. And then you shut up for 20 minutes and you're basically going, tell me more. Okay. And why is that urgency important? Oh, wow. Okay. Good. And you, on the left side of the paper, you write down the facts that they give you. And on the right side, you write down the feelings, fear, concern, health, pride, whatever those feelings are. And then when you're all done, you summarize what you heard the seller say. And in fact, the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, talks about the importance of doing a complete summary of what the person says, so they know you have proven that you understand them. And there'll be little corrections, which is fine. That's the whole point. And they say, so what I heard you say was, and you get done with the summary. And so this is what my understanding is. And then they'll say, yes, or that's right, or correct. And they affirm. And they might say, well, we could be flexible here or that. And they do a little bit of tweak on it. But I promise you, you'll be the first agent who lists listens to the seller. So for those agents who have not been listing agents, you can blow the experienced agents out of the water by doing something that they stopped doing. Oftentimes the experienced agents say, oh, I'm an experienced agent. Let me tell these sellers how good I am. And they lead with their ego. And I'm going to confess something. I've done 3,500 seminars, and sometimes the best seminars I did were the ones where I wasn't 100% comfortable with the topic. And as a result, I drew more from the audience and got the audience more involved, and I got some really good points from them. And I do that 2 or 3 times, and pretty soon I say, oh, I got this. And instead of drawing it from the audience, I would present it to them. And it wasn't as good. And I realized, I've got to use the technique to draw the audience out and let them participate rather than me coming in like, I have all the answers. And I think, so I make the same mistake perhaps as a top agent.
I think we all can confess to that. I did sales training with Hilton and a company called Travel Click, training outside sales members to go out and sell their products at hotels. And I said, remember, the more you talk, the more you're losing. Get them talking, ask those open-ended questions and let them go. One of my old leaders told me the perfect salesperson will never make a statement. They will only ask questions. He was a big believer in spin selling. And I'm a huge believer. I had a buyer once who we were struggling to find a house. And so finally, I had everything they wanted. I was showing them a house that checked everything, right? And then couldn't figure anything. So I finally said, tell me about your current house again. So we went back to all the facts. I'm like, what do you hate about your house? And I sat back, shut up. And they just told me diarrhea of the mouth of everything that they hated about their house. And I know I needed to solve those problems. If I could solve those problems with getting them the facts of things they wanted, it would work. And it came down to storage because Maureen had a lot of Christmas decorations, which forced Edwin to park his car in the driveway, his brand new Mustang, and the birds would poop on it because of all her Christmas decorations in the garage. But no time they'd tell me to need extra storage. So I solved that problem by asking a question and just letting them talk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just showed, when I shared the screen, we have the videos on spin selling, situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. So you can go in and watch those videos.
It's a great methodology because you really get them to exacerbate their own problems so you can come in and be the hero.
Yep.
So the thing that really resonates with me is 2022 is not 2008. And that is such a different beast today. We have hardly any forbearances left. And those that do have forbearances have plenty of equity in the home.
Yep.
So even if we have some jobless increases, we're going to be okay as a greater economy. Thankfully, going into this, we have a very robust economy. So we can weather it better than before.
Well, and it all comes down to the entire list of external influences falls outside of our control. Unless you get a macro and you get into, how we interact with politicians and all that. But on a day-to-day basis, those factors are outside of our control. So when the weather changes and all the things in our world changes, the question is, how do I interact with them? What can I do? And this is true in relationships. You have no control over your spouse or your kids. You think you do, and that's what creates this dysfunction, codependent interaction with people. We think we have some control over them. You don't. And because they are who they are. So the only thing we can control is how we interact with them. How do we change ourselves? And what do we need to do and improve the relationship and focus on those things that we can control and let go of the others. And again, I'm not talking about a parent to an underage child, that kind of thing. But even then, from what I understand, parents say, I have no control over my kids. Well, then control how you interact with them. You can control what you do on a listing presentation, how you interact with buyers, whether you represent more buyers or more sellers. And just sit down and say, take responsibility and ask yourself, what do I need to do today? Do I have a listing? If not, well, I'm not in the real estate business. Do I have a listing appointment? No. Well, then you're not even close to being in the business. And the third question, and this is probably the one we should ask every day, is how can I have a conversation with another human being that perhaps could lead me to an appointment that would lead to a sale or listing? Conversations. Talk to people.
Yep. I don't know if you know Molly McKinley. She was with my agent and AdWorks before that. She just started up her own marketing company. but we were having a chat last week for the episode that's going to be airing today. We talked about you. She's all about the intentional business and being very intentional in relationships. And I just want to give you a shout out as someone who I've known you for a couple years now, that you are a champion at relationships. I was on her every year since we started doing business with you, we get a Thanksgiving card. And that card is not just a stock card that has David written at the bottom of it. It's your handwriting, and there's always been a personal message. And it's such a personal message. I know it's to me, right? It's not just the personal message you're typing, you're writing to everyone. And I show those to our agents all the time, and we have everyone you've ever sent us. And I also see some of the other ones that other people have sent us that are sometimes not even signed. It's just the printed one. They stuffed it in an envelope, and someone put a label on it. But yours are always handwritten. Yours are always have that personal message, and those mean a lot. And I think agents as a whole can take a big lesson from that is be genuine, be authentic, be intentional in everything we're doing, every interaction you have with consumers. Listen to them if they have pets, know their pets' names. Like I know Buddy, and I got to, I'm a dog guy. So, but I know that I know you like the Porsche cars and racing. The people you interact with and your customers and the vendors, make sure you build those strong relationships. And if you have those, no matter what the economy throws at us, no matter what, all those things you talk about that we can't control, we'll be okay. Because the big Z in technology can't replace that personal touch.
Speaking of that, I would close on this note that for all agents listening, there's 3 ways to contact your sphere of influence that are all really nice: thank, invite, inform. So for those agents that have a book of business or experience, they've been around for a while, something you can do right now at the end of this recording is to go into your phone, pick out a past customer, maybe start with the very first one, and call them up and say, I just want to call you guys. I'm feeling grateful today, and I'm calling to say thank you so much for buying a home. You were my first seller, first buyer, whatever. Thank you so much. And then stop. And they'll do whatever they do and go to the next one, and make sure you're calling at a time when you're more likely to reach them. You want to have a 2-way conversation. And now everybody you talk to is, oh, thanks for calling. It's really good to hear from you. We love our home. And where it goes from there, you'll see. The other one, if you're really experienced and you want to spend some more money, do event marketing. Do a barbecue in your parking lot, or you could do that, have every agent chip in a couple $100 and do a barbecue in your parking lot. Or the smallest event is you can get on the phone and invite past customers, clients, friends to coffee. Maybe set a goal to have coffee 3 mornings a week. And if you call 20 people and invite them to coffee and none of them can come, you still had 20 good calls. You didn't have to buy coffee. So we have thank, inform, and then invite. The other one would be inform. Put together a 15-second market message. I would record it into your mobile device and play it back until you kind of like it. And then open and close with your name and number and give them some market message. Hey, this is David Knox, 612-590-8955. You probably heard that the interest rates have crept up quite a bit, and you may wonder how that will affect your home. I'd be happy to share that with you. If you'd like to know, give me a call. Here's my number again. You leave it. And even if nobody ever calls you back, they heard you. They know you're alive. In fact, maybe that's a new, we'll call a new marketing campaign called I'm Not Dead Yet.
You told a story once about someone in your neighborhood asked you about they were going to sell their home and who your agent was, and you had a good experience, but you couldn't recall her name because she hadn't stayed in touch.
Yeah, couldn't remember her name, had to look it up, emailed her and said, hey, in fact, the first question I asked her was, I told her I was trying to refer you and I forgot your name. So my question is, are you still in the real estate business? And by the way, if any of you ever get that question, you stink at marketing. And as I said, to her credit, she emailed me right back and said, yes, Brian and I are still in the real estate business, and they're still trying to find a way to contact our past clients. After 7 years, you couldn't come up with an idea? Call, text, write, email, postcard, drive by, pop by. Come on. Seriously, 7 years? You came up with no answer.
We had one agent who joined us from another office, went around and got gift bags with a little bottle of wine, not a big expensive one, his card, a couple, like a little koozie with the logo on it, a little measuring tape, and just a little tchotchkes, and went and personally with a note card, but knocked on every door. If they weren't home, he left it with the card just to say, hey, I'm with Century 21 OneBluere now. Wanted to come by and say hi. Hope things are going well. I mean, but talking about personal, he went by and actually went door to door, and he's been in the business for several years. So I think he did 20 a week until he got them all done.
Yep. Direct prospecting versus familiarity. That's the way it goes.
Exactly. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the
You're
time.
very
I know
welcome.
you're a very, very busy person, and I appreciate you joining us. If there's a broker that's listening and they're interested in your videos, how can they reach out to you?
They can go to davidknox.com, and then we have a button on our online training, and you can see some sample videos. Um, I think we have some testimonials in there, but for sure we have a free trial page. So you can put in your free trial. We give you 5 video views and 5 downloads. And then if you'd like me to contact them, they can put in their phone number. I'll give them a call and check in and say, thanks for the trial. Do you want a Zoom demo? And I'll show them how the training works. Vinny Delaccio up in New York, he's been a subscriber forever. In fact, he's got a whole testimonial I'm editing right now. He loves it. He loves the action plans. What we do has become his training program. And I'm happy to do a Zoom demo to anybody who'd like and show them around and see how it would work. And then when people subscribe, what I do is I do a Zoom kickoff to all the agents. Say, look, your company's investing in you. Your company's investing in you and spending money to help you become a better real estate agent. And kick it off that way. And the agents like it and help them get some training.
What did we do before Zoom? How did we live?
Well, you know what? I will say this, that I kind of liked it pre-Zoom. I liked face-to-face, phone-to-phone. I prefer that. Yes, Zoom fills, obviously COVID, you had to have it, and it still will fill some needs, I think, and it shortens it. I think you can do pre-listing interviews on Zoom. I think that makes sense. But even then, I'd rather be face-to-face. So I think that's always going to be better. And I think for the agents who got in the business and all they've known is Zoom, I kind of want to say, dude, come on. You got to be face-to-face. Go see people. The human interaction, it's ironic. The human interaction now is the point of difference. You know, it used to be, oh, take a look at our technology. Well, everybody's got technology now. Nobody doesn't have it. Seriously, nobody doesn't have it. It is no longer a point of difference. The point of difference is you'll answer the phone. That's a big point of difference. You return an email.
You want them to answer phones, David?
Answer the phone. Show up.
That down.
Show up on time. I could rant forever on that. But so just to reiterate, technology is no longer a point of difference. It's the personal touch, the relationship. Those are your points of difference. And I think people are starved for it.
And being
absolutely
intentional
starved
about it.
Yeah.
For those of you who are watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Do us a favor, hit subscribe, give us a like, and also head over to David Knox channel. Make sure you follow him. I'll put a link in the description below. If you're listening on podcast, give us a review. I will put in the show notes links to David's social as well as his website as well, so you can get in touch with him, his phone number. I encourage you, if you're a broker, reach out. His training is incredible. It will add an immense value to your office so that you can provide, I think, what is it, over 500-600 videos in the library in total now?
Yeah, 607, and we're adding 16 in a couple of days.
So it grows and grows. And even some of the older videos, I tell our agents, if you see a 4:3 resolution video with darker hair, David, those are the gold. Those are the ones that the timeless advice. And some of my favorite ones are still the older ones you have.
We did have an older series called the Mentor Series 2, done 22 years ago, and we were going to delete it. And everybody said, no. We were born and raised on the Mentor Series. We love it. And it's actually more valuable now because they can see 22 years ago, people were saying the same thing. In the role play demonstrations I did, I look back and go, my gosh, those were perfect. And some of the 4:3 older videos are because, like Bob Wolf, we're never going to get him on video again. We got him once, we captured him, so we're not going to delete him. Because what he does today is identical to what he did back then. But thanks, Kevin.
There's not a single bad video on your intro. They're all amazing. I think I've probably watched a good portion of them over the years. There's very few I haven't watched, I don't think so. Definitely check them out. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you, David, for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, Kevin, we'll see you later.
All right, take care. Bye-bye now.